The tank engine, for its size, is the most versatile thing on rails. And the tender engines are responsible for all the passengers and heavy goods that arrive on the island of Sodor. This is NWR Stories. The story of 98462 and 87546. It had been a busy day on the island of Sodor, and all the engines were arriving to the shed, the last of which was Edward, who had just got done taking a late-night branch line train. He was very tired. "Welcome back, Edward. How was your evening?" said Henry. "Tiresome, to say the least. I'm just glad to be back in the shed," replied Edward.
"Yes, today was a very exhausting day," said Hero. "I had to pull 3 goods trains from here to Kildare, but any work is good work."
Thomas, who had recently came back from the works from getting his safety valve repaired, spoke up and said, "I just can't wait to see Annie and Clarabelle again. Feels like it's been a long time since I've seen them." "Come on, Thomas, it's only been 3 days," said James. "And," said Thomas, I still miss them." "Is anyone really tired?" said Andy. "I mean, we're all wide awake." Said, "Well, I'm definitely not," spoke up Winston. Soon Percy spoke up. "Edward, Winston, can you please tell some stories about the early days of the island of Sodor?" said Percy. "Yeah," spoke up Andy. What was with those troublesome engines you mentioned before?" "Oh, you mean 98462 and 87546? said Edward. "Oh, come on, you don't want to hear about those two." "Well, some of them deserve the right to know. This is a story. First, I want to give a little background before I start with the story." And Edward soon began. It was 1918. The Great War had just ended, and the Northwestern Railway was beginning its normal operations. There was only 3 engines on the railway at the time. It was only Thomas, Edward, and Winston. They ran the line well, but soon they did need help. The railway was going through some sort of locomotive crisis. So to combat the crisis, Sir Topham Hatt the First purchased Henry, who was an unused Gresley prototype. But Henry's arrival in 1919 was not without its faults. See, with him being an unused prototype, he was not a smooth runner, which costed the railway. But the Fat Controller was still willing to give him a chance. But the Fat Controller still had to come up with some more plans to combat the locomotive crisis. So he decided to make an executive decision that would benefit the railway. Soon, the Fat Controller arrived at the sheds to discuss his plans for the railway. "Now, engines, I am pleased with your work these last 2 years, and we have been doing very well managing it. But now that the war is over, it's time to get back to normal traffic." "Yes, sir," said all the engines. "Now, we need to pick up on the railway's progress, so I decide to trial 2 engines for the railway. Said the Fat Controller.
I'm sorry, sir. I do my best to try to keep up, but sometimes it's hard to develop steam, said Henry.
Oh, it's quite all right, Henry. Besides, even with you coming here, we still needed a couple of more engines. So that is why I am trialing 1 engine from the northeastern region and another from the northwestern region. So I please hope you feel welcome. You make them feel welcome, because they are both experimental builds. Well, one of them. I think one is a experimental build altogether, and the other one is a NWR B12, I think. Just please make them feel welcome.
Yes, sir, said the engines.
And the Fat Controller walked away. But little did the engines know that the 2 engines weren't going to be very welcoming. Soon the day arrived when the 2 new engines were due to come on Sodor.
I hope everything goes well, said Winston.
It will be, said Henry.
Yes, just make sure you make them feel welcomed, said Edward.
And soon the engines heard 2 whistles.
That must be them, said Thomas.
And indeed it was. The 2 engines rounded a bend, and they soon arrived into the station platform. Engines, this is 98462 and 87546. They are going to be the new engines that I've trialed. Now, I have an important meeting with the board of directors. Please make these engines feel welcome.
Yes, sir, said all the engines.
And the Fat Controller walked away to his meeting.
Hello there. Welcome to the railway, said Edward. Please hope you'll feel welcomed here.
Look at this place. It's a mess. It's nothing like England, said 98462. Quite right, said 87546. This is a very messy railway.
Oh, come on. She's a bit of a fixer-upper, but you don't have to talk about the railway like that.
Oh, please. As soon as we're on this railway, we're gonna make this railway our own. And soon this railway is gonna be swarming with our classes, said 98462.
All right, no need to be rude. We're about as useful as you are, said Edward, standing up.
Oh, please. What this railway has is a useless blue tank engine, an old blue teapot, some red strawberry tomato engine, and a failed green prototype. Or more like a failed green embarrassment. Ha 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 ha.
Ugh, how dare you, said Thomas.
But anyway, we're here to replace you all, said 98462, and they both set off to start their work.
You know, with their attitudes, they will not be here that long, said Edward. But boy, was he wrong.
98462 was put on the express that goes from Natford and Barrow-Furness.
He bragged about this because it's one of the most important trains on the railway.
While 87546 maintained most of the goods work on the island. But the engines did admit they were somewhat hard workers. When they returned to the shed that night, they were bragging about their success. I pulled the express so well today, the passengers were singing my praises. Heh, you thought you did well today. I pulled my goods trains very well. Well, it would be better if them coaches weren't so
I don't know what to say. They're so shoddy and raggedy. We heard what you did to the coaches. You bumped them. They told us all about it. Coaches should be treated with care, said Winston. Exactly, said Thomas. Oh, who cares about coaches? They're not proper rolling stock. Go back to collecting dust in the shed, said 98462 to Edward. As we said earlier, said 87546, you will be replaced by our classes. The other engines thought it would be wasteful to say any more words to the other engines, so they decided to go to sleep. It was a shock to the other engines when 98462 and 87546 managed to stay on the island for another 2 years. It was shocking when they remained here for a while, due to the fact that their behavior never got them sent away. Maybe because the Fat Controller never realized it. But either way, the engines were very horrified by them staying. One day, Thomas was arranging coaches in the yard when suddenly 98462 rolled up right beside him. You still haven't shunted my coaches into the platform, bellowed 98462. No, I just got here. How about you be a grown engine and collect your own coaches, snapped back Thomas. Now, that isn't the way to talk to your superiors, said 98462. You shunting tanks need to stay in your place or get scrapped. Besides, I know of your type, said 98462 laughing. What do you mean by that? Said Thomas. Didn't your class have to be rebuilt due to them not being able to carry enough water? It's amazing you guys are able to be anything useful. You're not even important enough for me to even carry around this conversation. Just get my coaches shunted, okay? Little puffball, said 98462 spitefully. Thomas was furious, but he did not want to say another word. Thomas later told Edward what 98462 said. Oh, don't take it to heart, Thomas. You're a very useful engine. That is why you're the number one. Who knows, they might even stay here. It's just been a troubling experience. I don't know what to do. I think we should just keep our heads up, Edward. I mean, whether they're here or not, the Fat Controller, it's not like the Fat Controller is going to get rid of us. Very true. Thank you, Thomas. No problem. But anyway, you heard we're getting a new engine soon. Yeah. Well, that's pretty good. We get a new engine, then hopefully these two are pushed out. But boy, was Edward wrong. However, in the spring of 1923, the new engine finally arrived on the island of Sodor.